So you understand, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is, my memory is this. 7-member commission, Veterans Commission. Governor gets to appoint 4, no matter what. One has to be, I think, a member of a tribe, those 4. Then the Legion was going to get to pick 1, VFW pick 1, DAV pick 1. That got changed, and it was amended to say the Legion would propose 2 names that the governor could then choose from. VFW would choose 2 names that the governor could choose from. DAV would choose 2 names the governor could pick from. So in other words, the governor got to pick all 7 members of the commission. That still wasn't good enough. It still wasn't good enough. The bill passed the Senate, and this is an ongoing theme you'll hear from me. The Senate, which used a model of collaboration instead of conflict, worked very well. We got the bill passed, but it got over to the House, frankly, where this administration, the current Rounds-Dugard administration, holds sway, and they put out the word, kill the bill. And it was killed. And it was killed along party line votes. What is the great danger in having these organizations at least nominate the people who would make up the Veterans Commission? I would put this in the category of another insulting bill. This wasn't a close question between right and wrong. This was an insult to the veterans of South Dakota, that you aren't even qualified to choose 2 people. Out of the 2, 1 would be chosen by the governor to serve on the Veterans Commission. Well, that's silly. So many of these issues will be swept away within hours of my taking office. This is not even a close call. I will change the makeup of the Veterans Commission. I'll sit down with you. You'll tell me where you think it could be more responsive. End of story. No more fights.
Our next question, would you support a tuition waiver for Purple Heart recipients of service in Iraq and Afghanistan who are attending schools of secondary education?
Again, it's going to depend on money. It's in most groups that I've met with, education groups, I've met with nursing homes, it's going to be tough just to hold our position right now, and to add additional expenses. It's not something I can promise.
Well, I have to admit that I'm not very unbiased when it comes to Purple Heart recipients. But I've not only sponsored that legislation, I've sponsored every possible bill over the last 4 years, from decorative license plates for Purple Heart recipients to tuition waivers. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and I will continue to be. In fact, I can't think of an issue. Maybe one of the distinguished members of this panel or that panel can tell you, but I can't think of a single issue that you've cared about in 4 years that I haven't had my name all over.
Follow up? Another question for the audience.
By the way, I think those were defeated. Did we even get decorative license plates for Purple? Did we get that?
We got the Purple Heart, but we didn't get the
tuition.
And we narrowed it down to, I mean, they came up with 200 and some Purple Hearts, where we had 44, and we said maybe 10 would use it, because the rest would use the GI Bill. You know, and the Board of Regents gentleman said that will cost too much. So I'm hoping he's not wearing any yellow ribbons or the American flag lapel pin.
Thank you very much, and thank you again. And I'll stick around and answer any questions that you would like to ask me that you didn't have the chance to. Look, this is a really important time in the history of our state. We're going to make a decision in 72 hours that will affect the future of our state. We will either decide to continue with what we have, which is a caretaker administration made up of really nice people. Denny Dugard's a really nice person. He's from a good family. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. But he isn't running for this office because he's passionate about any ideas. He's running for this office because he's been lieutenant governor for 8 years, and the people have said to him, you really ought to run for governor. You've been lieutenant governor for 8 years. And so he's doing it. I'm running for this office because I know exactly where I want to take this state. There are 2 distinct kinds of governors. One is a caretaker, one is a strong leader. Now, you can make the argument that sometimes in history we're right for a caretaker, but right now we're right for a strong leader. We can no longer continue to have huge budget deficits. We can't continue to have the growth we have, and frankly, the priorities that are out of whack. What you've heard today is about veterans then these are not big price tag items. That's what drives me crazy. These guys aren't asking for the moon, they're just asking for some respect. And they can't get it from the same administration that exploits them emotionally every time there's a speech by the governor of South Dakota. Well, I'd rather, instead of having them exploit them emotionally, give them what they deserve, at least, which is some respect, and to make sure that veterans are treated fairly and military affairs are treated fairly. The best way to do that is to have a governor who understands the issues and is already on your side going in. Honestly,